Hello everyone. I thought I would read the children of our lovely school a chapter book, a really adventurous story about children, and it's the story that I loved when I was at primary school. This is the book that I'm reading. Well, I've shortened it. It's the whole story, but not in tiny words, and it's called The Phoenix and the Carpet. It's actually a sequel to another book that Nesbit wrote in the 1900s, very early on, about 100 years ago. And it's a really, really good story. Both stories are really, really good. The first story is called The Five Children and It, which is a brilliant film. If you haven't seen it, get it. It's really good. There's a new film out at the moment called Four Kids and It, which Jacqueline Wilson wrote the book for. And that's the sequel to the film, but this is the sequel to the book. It's the same children as The Five Children and It, and you'll find in chapter 1 it refers to that story. This was written in 1904. There's quite a lot of tricky Victorian language in it, which I've slightly changed so that this adventure story is suitable, I think, for even receptions up to year 6s. If you like an adventure story, I'm only going to do one chapter at a time. So listen to the first chapter. If you like it, you can listen to the other ones. There's 12 chapters. You could have one chapter a day, or if you like me, watching television, 2 or 3 or 4 until you fall asleep and have to watch the last one again. I don't know. It's up to you. Each video is about just under 20 minutes, between 15 and 20 minutes. For each chapter. I'll try and act it out as much as I can sitting down, and I hope you enjoy it. I've made myself a big folder, look, big folder with a picture on the front, and I've got all the words in here for me, so if I look like I'm looking down, I am. I've made them bigger because I can't read those words. There are a few pictures, but they're not actually very nice pictures. There's a picture that we're going to see in the story. We're going to see that part. But they're not very nice pictures. Perhaps you could look out some pictures of phoenixes. Phoenixi? I don't know. Pictures of a phoenix, so you know what it is. There's a short description in the book, but perhaps you can do that. Or perhaps you can colour some pictures and post them up on your mum's and dad's Facebook pages so that I can see them. If I can, I'll find some pictures for colouring in that I'll post as well. So if you're following the story, then we'll do it. I've had a practice, because I've never done this before, and I accidentally had it on time-lapse, which meant when I played it back I was at super speed, and I didn't know how to do that. So I had to get my IT person, Alice, and she came and sorted it. So I'm now on go number 3, so I should be okay by now. So today we're going to have chapter 1, The Egg. Now I'm sat here in my spare room. I tend to call it the study because I like to feel I'm posh. And it's got lots of pictures of Mr Withams' football-y, sporty things, and it's got some of my things as well. This over here, this is my graduation owl. It's not a phoenix, it's an owl. And it's got my university stuff on it, and it's got I've got some trophies. They're actually Alice's, not mine. There's my flute certificate just behind me there, and all my books, and I've got some lovely little Mickey Mouse. He's conducting music, and I've got some lovely little things there. Lots more books that side, look, and some more trophies, and this is my house. This is one of the rooms in my house. I didn't paint the bits up there. They were there before me. That was Mr Withams. This used to be Mr Withams' daughter's bedroom before she was grown up. And now it's just full of all my books. So, chapter 1, The Egg. And it starts when it's almost the 5th of November. And there were doubts about the quality of the fireworks that had been bought. "They were jolly cheap," said Robert. "I suppose they don't go off on the night. The other kids next door are going to have something to snigger about then." "The ones I got are all right," said Jane. "But look here," said Robert, "I think we ought to test them." "Oh, you young duffer," said Cyril. "Fireworks are like stamp. You can only use them once." "Oh, dry up," said Robert fiercely. "Let's just shut our eyes and each draw one and then try them." "But it's raining," said Jane. No one was in a very good temper. "We needn't go outside and do them. We can just move back the table and let them off on an old tray. I don't know what you think, but I think it's time we did something, and that would be really useful." "It would be something to do," agreed Cyril. Now, you and I know that that's not a very safe thing to do, but in 1904 they didn't realise that fireworks shouldn't be done inside, so don't do that at home. So they moved the table back, and Anthea got the tray. All the fireworks were put on the table, and each of the 4 children shut their eyes and put their hand out and took one. Robert took a cracker. Cyril and Anthea had Roman candles, but Jane's hand closed on the gem of the whole collection, the Jack-in-the-Box. Nobody was pleased. "I didn't mean to," said Jane, nearly in tears. "I don't care. I'll draw another one." "You know jolly well you can't," said Cyril. "It's agreed. We'll have to do that one last." So the cracker and the Roman candles were lit, and they were all that they were supposed to be. But when it came to the Jack-in-the-Box, it simply sat in the tray. They tried to light it with paper, and they tried to light it with matches. Anthea went to get some paraffin. She came in and she threw the paraffin over the tray just as Cyril was trying to light the 23rd match. The Jack-in-the-Box didn't catch fire, but a hot flash of flame leapt up and burnt Cyril's eyelashes and scorched the faces of all 4 children before they could spring back. They backed away, and the pillar of fire reached from floor to ceiling. "You've done it this time, Anthea," said Cyril. The flame was spreading out under the ceiling. Robert and Cyril saw there was no time to be lost. They turned up the edges of the carpet and kicked them over the tray. This stopped the column of fire, but it disappeared, and there was now nothing left but smoke and a dreadful smell. All hands now rushed to the rescue, and the paraffin fire was soon only a bundle of trampled carpet. Suddenly there was a crack beneath their feet, and the amateur firefighters started back. Another crack. The carpet moved as if it had a cat wrapped in it. The Jack-in-the-Box was at last lit, and it was going off inside the carpet. Robert rushed to the window and opened it. Anthea screamed. Jane burst into tears. But the firework went on, banging and bursting and spluttering even underneath the table. Next moment, Mother rushed in, and there was a dead silence. The children stood, looking at each other. The fact that the carpet was ruined was not a surprise, nor was anyone really astonished that bed was the end of their adventure. The rest of the fireworks were confiscated, and Mother was not pleased when Father let them off himself in the back garden. You see, Father had forgotten the children had been sent to bed in disgrace, and that their bedroom windows looked out over the back garden. So they saw all the fireworks most beautifully. Next day all was forgotten and forgiven. The room had to be cleaned, and the ceiling had to be painted. Mother went out, and at tea time the next day a man came with a rolled-up carpet. As the carpet was unrolled, something hard and loud-sounding bumped out of it and trundled along the nursery floor. All the children scrambled for it, but Cyril got it. It was shaped like an egg, very yellow and shiny, half transparent, and it had an odd sort of light in it that changed as you held it in different ways. It was as though it was an egg with a yolk of pale fire that showed through the stone just. "May I keep it, Mother?" Cyril asked. And of course Mother said no, they must take it back to the man who'd bought the carpet, because she'd only paid for a carpet, not for an egg with a fiery yolk inside. When the shopkeeper saw the children, he knew them again, and he began at once, without giving them a chance to speak. "No, you don't! I ain't going to take back no carpets." "We don't want you to take it back," said Cyril, "but we found something in it." No! interrupted Jane. "There was an egg." The man stamped his foot. "Clear out, I say, else I'll call the police." The children fled. Father said they might keep the egg. So it was put on the mantelpiece, where it quite brightened up the room. On the 5th of November, Father and Mother went to the theatre, and the children were not happy, because the family next door had lots of fireworks, and they had none. They weren't even allowed to have a fire in the garden. "No more playing with fire, thank you very much," was Father's answer when they asked. When the baby had been put to bed, the children sat sadly around the fire in the nursery. "I'm bored," said Robert. "Let's talk about the Samad," said Anthea, who generally tried to keep the conversation cheerful. "Wasn't good at talking," said Cyril. "What I want is something to happen." "Well, we've got our memories," said she. "Just think of the last holidays." Last holidays they'd been spent in the country at a white house, and things had happened. The children had found a samad, or sand fairy, and it had let them have anything they wished for. And if you want to know what kind of things they wished for and how their wishes turned out, you can read it all in a book called 5 Children and It. It was the samad. If you've not read it, perhaps I ought to tell you that the 5th child was the baby brother, who was called Lamb, because the first thing he ever said was "Ba." "I don't want to think about memories," said Cyril. "I want something to happen." "Well, we're much luckier than everyone else as it is," said Jane. "No one else has ever found a samad. We ought to be grateful." "Why shouldn't we go on being, though?" Cyril asked. "Lucky, I mean, not grateful. Why has it got to stop?" "Perhaps something will happen," said Anthea comfortably. "You know, sometimes I think we are the sort of people that things happen to." "I wish they taught magic at school," Jane sighed. "I believe we could do magic, and it might make something happen." "Well," said Anthea, "we could play at doing magic." So they traced strange figures on the floor. They traced them with chalk, and they chanted all the gloomiest songs they could think of, and, of course, nothing happened. So then Anthea said, "I'm sure we need a magic fire." So they burned some sweet wood and some oils. It certainly smelt very strong, but still nothing happened. Then they got some clean tea towels from the kitchen, and they waved them over the magic chalk tracings, and still nothing happened. So they waved them more and more wildly, and Robert's tea cloth caught the golden egg, whisked it off the mantelpiece, and it fell into the fender and rolled under the grate of the fire. "No!" cried more than one voice, and everyone instantly fell flat on its front to look under the grate, and there lay the egg, glowing in a nest of hot ashes. "It's not smashed," said Robert, and he put his hand under the grate and picked up the egg, but the egg was much hotter than anyone would have believed, and Robert had to drop it with a cry of "Oh, bother!" It fell on the top bar of the grate and bounced right into the glowing red-hot heart of the fire. "Oh, look, look, something's happening!" For the egg was now red-hot, and inside it something was moving. Next moment there was a soft cracking sound. The egg burst into 2, and out of it came a flame-coloured bird. It rested among the flames, and as it rested there the 4 children could see it growing bigger and bigger before their eyes. Every mouth was agape, every eye agoggle. The bird rose in its nest of fire, stretched its wings, and flew out into the room. It flew round and round and round again. Where it passed, the air was warm. Then it perched on the fender of the fire. The children looked at each other, and Cyril put his hand out. The bird put its head on one side, just like a parrot does when it's about to speak, so the children were not astonished when it said, "Be careful, I'm not nearly cool yet." They weren't astonished, but they were very, very interested. They looked at the bird, and it was certainly worth looking at. Its feathers were like gold. It was about as large as a hen, only its beak was not at all hen-shaped. "I believe I know what it is," said Robert. "I've seen a picture." He hurried away. But But when he came back into the room holding out a paper and crying, "I say, look here!" all the others said, "Shh!" And he shhed obediently and instantly, because the bird was speaking. "Which of you put the egg into the fire?" "He did," said 3 voices, pointing at Robert. The bird bowed. At least it was most like a bow. "I am very grateful," it said. The children were all choking with wonder and curiosity, all except Robert. He held the paper in his hand, and he knew. He said so. He said, "I know who you are." "You are a phoenix," said Robert, and the bird was quite pleased. "My fame has lived then for over 2,000 years," he said. All the children were kneeling on the hearthrug to be as close to the phoenix as possible. "Look, I'm nearly cool now," he said, and with a whir of golden wings he fluttered to the table. It was so nearly cool that there was only a faint smell of burning from the tablecloth. The children gathered around the table. It turned around and gravely presented its golden tail to the children and told his story. "A phoenix has 1 egg," he said. "It makes a pile and it lays its egg, and then it burns itself and it goes to sleep and wakes up in the egg. And then it comes out and goes on living again, and so on, for ever and ever." "But how did your egg get here?" asked Anthea. "Ah, that's my life secret," said the phoenix. "I couldn't tell it to anyone." "But do you wish me to stay?" "Oh, yes," said everyone. "Why?" said the phoenix, looking modestly at the carpet. "Well, because..." And everyone stopped short. Jane added, after a pause, "Because you are the most beautiful thing we've ever seen." "You are a sensible child," said the phoenix, "and I will not vanish. I will tell you my tale. I had lived for many thousands of years in the wilderness, and I was becoming bored. I awoke one morning and I saw a prince and princess on a magic carpet. The magic carpet takes you anywhere you wish. They had no further use for the carpet, and so they gave it to me. This was indeed the chance of a lifetime." "I don't see what you wanted with a carpet," said Jane, "when you've got those lovely wings." "They are nice, aren't they?" said the phoenix happily. "Well, I got the prince to lay out the carpet, and I laid my egg on it. And then I said to the carpet, 'Now, my excellent carpet, take that egg somewhere where it can't be hatched for 2,000 years, and where, when time's up, someone will light a fire and put the egg in to hatch.' And you see, it's all come out exactly as I said." "But the carpet," said Robert, "the magic carpet that takes you anywhere you wish, what became of that?" "Oh, that," said the phoenix carelessly. "Oh, I would say that's the carpet. I remember the pattern." It pointed as it spoke to the floor where lay the carpet that Mother had bought. At that instant, Father's key was heard in the door. "Oh," whispered Cyril, "we'll catch it if we're not in bed." "Wish yourself there," said the phoenix. No sooner said than done. Suddenly, there the children were, in bed, and the lights were off. They heard the soft voice of the phoenix through the darkness. "I shall sleep in the corner above your curtains," it said. "Don't mention me to your family." "Not much good," said Robert. "They wouldn't believe us anyway." The next morning... But you're going to have to wait until the next chapter before you hear about that. Goodbye.